Okay, last one. Let's create a new part. Sketch on the YZ again. I'm going to show my grid. Create a profile. We'll just start here, 2 and 1. Oh, I missed. I must have moved in the last second. We'll start here at 2 and 1. I'll go up 2 inches, over 2 inches. Up 1 inch, over 2 inches. I'm just trying to make it easy. Now, see if I click here, see that blue line? It's going to lock that. Even if I did want it there, I wouldn't draw it there. I would constrain it all first and then let the constraints take care of its location, because you won't have the ability to swap that around if you want to later. It'll be forever locked to that horizontal line. So I move it down just a hair to get it off of there. I'll go here, and then let's go here, and then I come over here. If I create a circle and I start that here, do you see how it's gonna lock that to this line here? If I constrain it, then one constraint, this coincident here, is going to control the center of the hole and that line. And I intentionally have a dimension to control the hole and a dimension to control this line. So even if that's where you want the hole in the end, don't create it there. It's just going to create a headache for you. I'll delete this out. Create the hole over here. Now see this? This line is tangent to that circle. If I highlight this whole thing and auto constrain this, it's going to try and lock up that circle tangent to that line and not allow me to control the center of the point. If I try and put it on a constraint to control the center point to this edge, it's going to turn purple because it's over constrained situation. Okay, so I'm going to undo that. If I want a circle, I'm going to make sure I create a circle somewhere where it's not going to link. I'm not going to put it here. I don't want it linked to that point. I don't want it linked to that point. I don't want it linked to either this line or either of those points. So I just put it somewhere where I know there's no tie. So I click on something like that. And then when I constrain it, I'll move it to where I want. Now, let's highlight this whole thing and try the auto constrain. Dang it. Let's go to auto constrain. We'll highlight this whole thing. I'll use these as my datums, and I'll stack dimension it. You know, a lot of times it does weird things. In this case, it did pretty good. So I can move these dimensions around. But see how it gave me the 7-inch dimension and it gave me this one? Okay. So let's say I don't want this dimension, I want the angle. It's not a big deal. I could just delete it and put in the angle. Okay, and then I could modify that later. If I establish these two here as my datums, by the way, before I do anything, I do anchors right away because I tend to accidentally move stuff. So if I anchor this, then I don't have any issues. See how good of a job it did? Instead of me trying to figure out what dimensions are there, the whole idea of this is to let the computer figure it out. I have all the dimensions I need when it turns green. So basically, it looks like this one here. I have this done. Okay. The only thing is, I got to change this to 1 inch, I believe. This one's at 1 inch and 2 inches. That's aligned with this one. Whoopsie. I wish I could just auto search that and then right click properties. Beef that line weight up a bit. Okay, so it looks like the dimensioning came out pretty good. Move out your dimensions according to figure 9-1 in your book. Okay, I have these arrows lined up here as I should. All this looks good, except for this is a radius callout. I don't know why it does that, so you have to switch this to a diameter. So the only thing I would say is dimension your angles. If you know you got an angle, throw the angle in there if it's having a hard time doing your auto constraint. So the rule of thumb is if you do an auto constraint, it looks like a mess. Dimension to your points, dimensions to things that don't come off the datum, and dimension angles. For example, here's an angle. Okay, you could try and create your angle first. This is a dimension that did not come off the datum. And this is the dimension that went to the center point. Okay, so sometimes you have to create, ask this in the quiz. What do you do before you hit auto constrain? What are the things to try? Dimension to points, constrain to points. So for example, on this one, remember I did profile, so I had to constrain to that center point. And on this one here, we did a dimension. We did this dimension here. That was an offset to, that was not coming off a datum. Both this one, and this one here, and this one here, they all come off the datum. The CATIA is just going to do those for you. Might as well let the CATIA do it. We paid it all this money to do it for us. Why not let it do the work for us? See on this one, all I did was auto constrain. I just deleted one of the constraints I didn't want and then added the one I did want. So the other option is just to add this angle in first. Okay, so those are the things you can try out to make auto constraints work better for you.